Hi, you guys. Oops, better get this going. It's Mayday. As one of you pointed out, and I'm sorry I can't remember your name just now, in the comments yesterday, I was talking about the next holiday, and I said Memorial Day. And he said, no, it's Mayday. And I can't even remember he gave me the Celtic name for the holiday. And, when the church came into power, the pagan days were phased out. But I went to a school that was fairly repressive, and we had uniforms, and so it was everybody look alike, everybody talk alike, and yet they celebrated May Day, complete with maypole. I mean, that's an enormous pole made out of flowers. Like we all were supposed to bring in flowers from home, and this was in Maryland, so in the spring there really were flowers. There were, all the fruit trees were in blossom, and so all the kids brought in flowers and decorated this maypole, and it has ribbons, and you dance around it and weave the ribbons together. I mean, it's extraordinary. So that's what I remembered. God, I think I just don't. I can't remember your name. I apologize. I love you guys. There are a lot of you, and I try to keep tabs on y'all and give you credit where credit is due, and sometimes I miss a comment, I don't even respond, but know that I'm thinking about you, I really am, and you're important to me. Mayday. And the other thing that brought up for me was the idea of when a ship is in trouble, you say Mayday, Mayday, you get on the radio and say Mayday, and every, on the radio, help, help. And any boat that's in the vicinity, big boat, little boat, doesn't matter, supposed to come and I tell you, that's a friend of mine who was wanting to come in, and I texted him and said, I'm doing a reading, what can I say? Mayday, Mayday. So everybody responds and comes and helps the boat that's in trouble. So on the one hand, it was like, wee, this dance around the maypole thing, and then help, help, Mayday. I had also written down that, there's the idea of, are we spiritual beings? Spiritual beings having a 3D experience, or we 3D beings having oh God, a good laugh was had by all. Having a 3D experience. We have to toggle back and forth because we're both. It's Mayday and it's Mayday, help, help. And the other thing that was sort of, see Sam? The other thing that was sort of interesting this morning is the guy who was at the door was over early. It's trash day here, which is like the next holiday. It marks the week. You got to get the trash out. And since I've been very wobbly, this fellow's come over and taken my garbage bag to the curb. What are friends for? And he asked me, what are you doing today? And I said, what do you mean? What do you think I should be doing? I got immediately defensive and paranoid. And eventually I burst into tears. It just really triggered me. And, because are we spiritual beings having a mortal experience, or mortal beings having a spiritual, the push-pull of those two can just, you can either ride that or be torn apart by it. and I toggle back and forth. So poor man, he had to deal with. He's a big fan of Edgar Allan Poe. And I said something about, there's a Poe story called The Telltale Heart. And it's a creepy, Poe was dark, and this was a dark story about a guy who murders an old man and buries him under the floorboards. And is driven nuts eventually by, he can hear the heartbeat. Boom, 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 boom. So he maybe got away with the murder, but the heart betrayed him. And I was saying to my friend, somehow that's it. You don't want to bury the heart. You can't bury the heart. Boom, 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 boom. If it's under the floorboards, if it's deep in the recesses of your unconscious mind, if it's something you've repressed in your heart. I was weeping this morning because somebody asked me, what are you going to do today? I have a hard time keeping the heart under the floorboards. It comes out and it bleeds and I think that's in a way part of being the feminine energy of feeling things deeply. And the guy is saying, what are you going to do today, male energy? And I said, wah. First card out. Two of Wands, we had that yesterday. The portal, what are you going to do? What are you going to do today? What are you going to do with your life? And this is a card of choice and consideration. Ruse in the rocking chair. Next card, the Telltale Heart. I love it. I don't love it. This is a card of pain and separation. Look at this person. Something has happened. And sword energy. And it may be the attempt to move on from that. The Telltale Heart. Under the floorboards. Buried, didn't I say, in the recesses of the mind? Sword energy is about the mind. So this person's trying to get on with their day, maybe. Make a decision, just how do I get through the day? When on some level I feel like this. This is a card of thinking, but the heart is predominant and it's broken. King of Wands, in that same energy as Two of Wands. Card of divine masculine. Doesn't mean a man, it just means somebody who's empowered and going to do something. It does sort of fit in with what happened to me this morning, where the guy said, what are you going to do today? Have you made a decision about which way you're going to go? And this was my response. And he was, bless his heart, he let me cry. He didn't really say what's wrong or what, because I was just going, I was just emoting. And he said, I got to go to work. And he did. And so did I. But it was a different kind of work for me. It was, processing this. As well as making coffee, getting through the day, getting the day started. Having that. These are minor arcana cards. They're about 3D experience. Are we a spiritual being? Or are we a mortal being? Or are we both? And how do we toggle back and forth? This is sort of a card of toggling. What gear am I in here? The Telltale Heart. Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. This is sort of like a Mayday, Mayday, help, help card. Yeah, under Two of Wands we had this pair yesterday. Queen of Wands. Yesterday I think it was King of Pentacles, Queen of Wands, but here she is. He, she, they. This is the manifester. which way do we go? And Queen of Wands would say, here I am. It's landing right in the palm of my hand. I don't need to do anything except follow my intuition. Pass through the portal. It's not that this person would ignore their broken heart, but they'd find the power, the life force inside, and get through the day. Tell us about this. It may be that these two, King and Queen of Wands, even though they're a matched pair, experience this kind of separation. Maybe they thought very differently, or they processed information, sword energy, very differently. And the king was all about do it. I'm going to do it, Wands energy. I'm empowered. I know what I want to do. I know what I'm passionate about. And Queen of Wands is like, I turn inward. Not in the sense of, an introvert, because Queen of Wands is not an introvert. But Queen of Wands is certainly tapped into, I think this is you, you're male or female, into your intuitive energy. You're a manifester. Things come to you. This one goes out in the world and does it. Does the job, does the, not going to show this. If this individual King of Wands feels broken, I don't think they're going to show it. The telltale heart, it's buried under the floorboards. That's how the King of Wands gets through the day. One more for Queen. This one. We're getting repeats. I gotta switch decks again. Beginner's mind. And on the board, this one is gesturing toward Page of Swords. Three of Swords. It's kind of like I learned something about my pain. That's the way I process it. I take it out from under the floorboards and I look at it, sword energy, with fresh perspective. What can I learn about this thing that hurt me, so that I can regain my mojo, my power, Wands energy? I'd like to know about the separation. Can you tell me about okay. Oh, wow. Seven of Swords. Somebody wasn't true to themselves, or true to the other person. And this Seven of Swords person is going right toward Page of Swords. Something about you want to learn about your pain. I need to escape my pain. It's a card of the escape, or it can be deception, but in this case I think it's really like a resistance to learning about it. It would slow me down. It would take away my mojo. I couldn't get through the day if I spent time, looking at the heart under the floorboards. And yet, the heart kept beating under, you can't really suppress it. So King of Wands may be asking, what can I do about it? There's a choice here. What can I do? And I think it's, do I move forward, past the pain? They might have really hurt each other. Somebody may have ghosted. left without an explanation, stopped talking. Maybe both parties did, because I think this is a mutual energy. Hurt people, that kind of thing. On Queen of Wands, Ten of Wands, we had that yesterday as well. Closing out a cycle, moving on. Perhaps Queen of Wands thinks, the only way I can process this pain is by myself. You know, if I want to manifest something else in my life, I have to be ready to move on. And maybe the Queen of Wands is deceiving herself. And, you know, it might be in denial about the need to close out the cycle. Telltale heart on Seven of Swords. On Seven of Swords. On the split, Ten of Cups. No matter what we do, we're getting, this is a story that goes round and round and round. It's not a soap opera, but it's like a saga. Okay, bottom, on the split we have Page of Swords. On Seven of Swords, I gotta get away. I gotta get my head together. You know, telltale heart. I don't know if you could see it, but this guy's heart is activated. Boom, 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 boom. Page of Cups, Page of Swords. Learning about love. And that Ten of Cups. Do I go away from this possibility? I mean, there's so much love here. Page of Cups, Ten of Cups. It's refreshed, it's renewed. Something in King of Wands doesn't want to go back. Wants to bury it under the floorboards. Is it this? On King of Wands, Knight of Swords. And usually this is somebody coming in with a message quickly, hot-footing it. But here we're seeing their back. I think this guy, King of Wands, is running away. You know, wants to cut the heartstrings. Doesn't want to hear it. Doesn't want to hear the telltale heart. And in this instance, it's not about murder, although this looks a little suspiciously suspicious. But it's about escaping emotion. On Page of Swords, we have Seven of Cups. In Cups energy, again, in that water energy. And I think in this case, it's a card of consideration, options. And I think there's a consideration, you know, do I really want to delve back into this? Because, you know, if your heart is awake, there's the possibility for this, and there's certainly as well the possibility for this. Both. I'm looking for the major arcana, and there isn't one. There's the possibility for 3-day exchange. This is all about the mortal being having this spiritual experience. You know, I think there's some both desire and resistance to having this exchange between King and Queen of Wands. You know, because it's on Three of Swords. Do we share Six of Pentacles? Do we share our sadness, our fear, our, can we dig this heart up, from under the floorboards? Or do we just close out the cycle? I don't know. Can I open up my heart again? Can I do this? Given that we've both of us have been hurt. So what about this? Can they do this? Is it this one? King of Swords. In that sword energy of Three of Swords, Seven of Swords, both of which are not, and Knight of Swords, running away. This is the highest expression of sword energy, somebody who's clear and also kind of above it all. They're up on the mountaintop. They may not be talking. They may be running away. They really may need to escape this. This situation. They may feel like to enter back into some kind of equal exchange is too much. King of Swords is known for being smart and clear, but also reserved. They have a hard time with this. They're kind of an overthinker. They're afraid that the feelings will slow them down, somehow take away their mojo. I don't think Queen of Wands is interested in taking away anybody's mojo, their personal power. I think Queen of Wands is misunderstood. This one's very smart, but I don't think he understands. There's a quote in the movie Forrest Gump where he says, "I may not be a smart man, but I know what love is." I know what love is. And maybe this divine masculine, King of Swords, King of Wands, does in fact know what love is. It's this. We share that, there's a potential for that, and it's this. I'm surprised Fool isn't here because there's a kind of, is it worth the risk? This one's trying to weigh it up, to assess it from a position of removal, to get the dog out of the game. And in some ways to escape love. And Queen of Wands might also want to just say, oh, screw it. I've tried and tried Wands energy. Because King of Swords can be cold. And Queen of Wands is hot, hot, hot. And the hot aspect of the masculine is booking it, is moving away. This one, Strength card. That's fire energy, a card of Leo, a card of divine masculine. There's a feminine on the card. But I think it relates to this king and perhaps how he feels about his feminine. To me, it's a card of how you process pain. King of Wands doesn't want to process pain. this divine masculine in their sword aspect is smart enough to understand sword energy, that love can hurt you and might want to just escape that. Bury the heart under the floorboards. And I think Queen of Wands is saying, right, you have the power to do that, and I have the power to walk away. And it may make both parties very sad. But there is separation here. The heart is broken. It's it's in pieces. Maybe each person needs to regenerate their own capacity to love. Maybe Queen of Wands has to let go. In sword energy, the card of healing. This is certainly strength, courage. It's the strength card. The strength to heal. The strength to know you need to heal. That's what King of Swords knows, sword energy. And I think King of Swords also knows that he, she, or they loves this other person, but has some healing work to do. Tell me about Queen of Wands, please. Good on their own. Independent, and that's very much this energy. I don't chase. I have the power to leave if necessary, and so does this other person. They might leave without saying anything. Queen of Wands, I think, would not chase, but would do this. Wands energy, do it. That may be Queen of Wands' go-to reaction. You're unsure? I can accept that. You do that, I do this. It's like a call and response, or call and no response. Something about the call. No response. It's a little bit like on the part of this masculine. I can't hear it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear the heart under the floorboards. You bring that up for me, and it makes me want to run away. Is this on Nine of Pentacles? That's a card of independence. Somebody who's good on their own, stable on their own. In 3D life, Pentacles energy. I'm good on my own. If this never happens, I'm still intact. One more. In Pentacles energy again. It might be I'll focus on my work. 9 of Pentacles, 8 of Pentacles. I've gotten everything I can, I needed to I've gotten everything I needed to. I've got everything I need to live an independent life. I've done the work of independence. There's no Mayday, Mayday on the part of Queen of Wands, 9 of Pentacles person. They may be focusing now on their work, but this is also like it's Pentacles energy, so it's 3D experience. But there's a focus on the candle, that spiritual aspect. In my solitude, I can do my work, I can do my spiritual work. I'm not needy. One more, please. Part of the spiritual work is processing the grief. Telltale heart, cups energy. That's a card of, it can be of missed opportunities, of sadness, of, I see it as a card of the widow or the widower. Where you feel like your heart energy is draining away. So there may be a refocusing on this divine feminine on themselves, Nine of Pentacles, and their work. Both 3D and spiritual work. And for the two of them, oh boy, Two of Swords. They're at a crossroads moment. A moment of choice. Crossroads can be, we're stuck here. It's a standoff energy. Like they think so differently. I think we said that before. They just process things differently. I can't stand it to end there, so I'm going to just take... Seven of Pentacles. I think it's sort of... we each retreat to our own corner and grow what we need to grow. Saying, look for the other seven. Retreat to our own corner. I'm not sure there's much to talk about in this situation. It may take a lot of time to process it. If these two are ever going to come to this equal exchange, it will take time. There's so much buried. So much potential, but there's a lot that's still underground, the telltale heart, under the floorboards. And Divine Masculine may know that this feminine is, on the verge of tears. And some masculines can't stand that. When you cry, it hurts me, Three of Swords, and makes me aware of my own heart under the floorboards. Six of Swords. That's moving to a calmer place. And I like that because it's no longer at the crossroads, indecisive of two minds. Maybe that's the agreement that these two come to. Is we need to move out of conflict. Five of Swords, that contentious energy. We need to calm our minds and get to a calmer place before we can talk. Something needs to be healed before we can communicate. And once we decide to communicate, it will take great courage to do so because it's facing this. And the possibility of Ten of Cups. Great happiness. Two cards of decision. Two of Swords, Two of Wands. Two 10 cards, closing out a cycle, great love and somebody moving on. Both parties seem to be moving on. Maybe there's still a potential energy, a potential for growth. Seven of Pentacles, Eight of Pentacles. 6, 7, and 8 of Pentacles, like a progression here. But I don't think anything's been decided. King of the masculine knows he has to heal. The feminine knows, I may have to do this. pack my bags and go. And I'm hearing old Bob Dylan song, it ain't me, babe. It ain't me you're looking for. You say you want someone who can love you whether you're right or wrong. I mean, there are all these expectations on the part of the woman. And the guy singing the song says, it's not me. That's not a song Divine Feminine wants to hear. But good on their own. So there is some kind of poignant, perhaps not reconciliation, but acceptance on the part of both parties. Like it was a good run or something like that. We exchange love, we exchange pain, hurt people, but we both leave intact. Telltale heart. Mayday, mayday. I think if anybody was going glub, the sinking ship, there's the ship. Moving on to calmer waters. Sometimes that's the resolution. Could we rescue each other? Maybe not. Maybe the timing was wrong. Maybe our communication styles were too different. Two of Swords, we were of two minds. A lot of love here, though. I'll see you next time. Oh yeah, let me just name we have Leo in the Strength card. And that is the only major arcana. Strength and courage. Leo, time may be important. Maybe communication gets started back up, but only if Divine Masculine heals their ability to speak and is willing to hear the sadness of the feminine. I'll see you next time.